time that we're in right now is a time that's called Shiva de Nechemta. These 7 weeks from Shabbos Nachamu until Rosh Hashanah are 7 weeks of Nechama, where every Haftorah has a message of hope and a message of Nechama. What is the Nechama after Tisha B'Av, when Hashem destroyed the Beis HaMikdash and left us here in Galos? And the Nechama is, girls, that Hashem took out his Chamaso al Itzim va'avanim. He took out his anger on trees and stones, but he left us alive. He left us to live on because we have a mission to accomplish. And that is the greatest Nechama, coming to Rosh Hashanah, where Hashem will then judge Kol Beruei Olam. So you all know, most of you here were in seminary, and others I'm sure heard, that there's a concept when you go to seminary yeshiva, it's called a Javea. A Javea is that thrilling experience, that adventure that you look forward to having every so often. But we know a certain boy who came to yeshiva, and by him, this Javea happened every single week. Because what he would do was, every Friday, he would get dressed for Shabbos, and he would go to the Knisa La'ir, the Trempiada, the entrance to Jerusalem, where all the buses leave to go out of Yerushalayim, and also where hitchhikers stand because they want to get a ride somewhere. And he would stand there and wait for a ride. But then when a hitchhiker would come and say, "Where do you need to go?" he would say, "Wherever you're going." And every Shabbos, he would end up in a different neighborhood for Shabbos. Absolutely no plans. From going with the flow, he would find himself a place to be. Every week was a thrill. Every week was a Javea. As we say, kids, don't try this at home. It's not safe. It's not recommended at all. But this is what he would do. We know him very personally. Baruch Hashem, he's married with children, and he finished with those thrilling experiences. Seminary girls, on the other hand, will call you up on Sunday and say, "Hi, can I come for Shabbos in 6 weeks from now with a friend?" And you're like, 6 weeks from now? What month is it going to be then, yeah? Whereas yeshiva guys will call you on Friday morning, "Hi, can I come this Shabbos with 6 friends?" And you say, "What's your name? What yeshiva do you go to? How did you get my number? Why do you want to come to me?" Yeah? So we understand that there's a very big difference between ending up somewhere or planning and finding the right direction. Seminary girls, they pass on these books of places to go to for Shabbos. There's ratings. This one has good food. This one, bring your own blanket, you know? And we understand that when you're planning something so much greater, like life itself, we don't want to find ourselves at age 60 and say, "So this is my life, eh? So this is where I ended up. So this is the flow that I found myself in." Sometimes it's a good one, and sometimes it's not. I understand, I always like to say, before we start dating, is that so many girls end up marrying the boy that came up rather than marrying the boy they had always wanted to marry. Because I could find myself ending up somewhere, or I could find myself in the place where I wanted to be, in the place where I wanted, where I thought of, where I found the right direction to go in. When it comes to life, obviously, the Mesilas Yesharim tells us, Ramchal, in the beginning of Mesilas Yesharim, and he says that a person needs to constantly think, "Ma chovaso be'olamo," right? What is my chiyuv in this world? What is my purpose in this world? And I'm constantly, sheitbarer ve'itamet etzel ha'adam ma chovato be'olamo, what is my chova in this world? What am I here to do? Ulema tzarich sheyasim, and what do I need to put? Mabato u'megamato, my dreams and aspirations. I'm constantly asking myself, why am I here and where am I going? Asher hu amel kol yemei chayav. Every single day in our life is a search for meaning, is a search to make sure that I'm planning and I'm going in the right direction. Now that I ask myself, who am I want to tell you what Rav Dessler says, and it's amazing to view who am I and what my life is all about according to this. Says Rav Dessler, when I ask myself, who am I and what my life is all about, it's like the famous mother that's waking up her son to go to school. And she says, "It's time to go to school, honey." And he says, And she says, "But you'll be late. You have to go to school." So he says, "But I don't want to go to school." But she says, "But you have to go to school." But she says, "But I don't want to go to school. All the students hate me." And she says, "But you have to go to school." And then she says, "I don't want to go to school. All the teachers hate me." So she says, "But you have to go to school. You're the principal." Yeah? Now, clearly, we got it, everyone in the back, Tamar, the principal. So what we understand, is that clearly this person gets up every single morning and this is his life. Yet, a new day begins and he doesn't want to start his life. He doesn't want to start his day. So what is his life really all about? Who is he and what is his life all about? Says Rav Dessler, the way a person can know what his life is all about is by looking into his actions and realizing that there are certain things in life that we do with excitement, that we do when we're alive. We feel happy and excited to do it. Then there are many other things in life that we do because we have no choice. We're forced to do it. And we find ourselves dragging our feet doing these actions, but we're not alive when we're doing them. We're almost dead when we're doing them. Our outer emotions are doing them, but our inner emotions are totally not there. Says Rav Dessler, we need to look into the actions and see what are the actions that we do with a passion, with an excitement, that we feel alive doing, and what are the actions that we drag our feet doing. That won't point on what our life is all about. Like two kids who go to school from 8 to 4, or if they're Israeli, from 9 to 1, yeah, in Israel we don't really do school so much. Like two kids who go to school from 8 to 4, and one kid is there and he's taking notes and he's listening and he loves to learn, and another kid is just there because he has to be there and he can't wait to come back home and play basketball and play his drums, right? So clearly one kid could say school is my life, and another kid, school is clearly not his life, although he's there the same amount of hours. Says Rav Dessler, we have to look into our actions that we do with an excitement, the actions that we do with a passion, and understand that's our life. And the rest of the actions that we do with no choice, with no feeling, that's clearly not our life. Says Rav Dessler. Now, in Mechtam Eliyahu Chelik Aleph, he says, now within the things that I do with a passion, and within the things that I do with an excitement, I need to ask myself, how many of these actions are physical? And how many of these actions are spiritual? When I look into the way I'm living my life, into the passionate actions of my life, which will determine who I really am, I need to ask myself, how much of it is physical and how much of it is spiritual? A student called me up a while ago, and she told me, I'm dating a boy. We researched him. He's a great boy. He's doing everything right. He opens the car door for me. He pours me the drink. He tips the waitress. He says thank you to the security guard. But how in the world am I supposed to know who this boy really is? How am I supposed to know what he's really all about? And I told her, simply talk to him. Bring up conversations. And I want you to look into his eyes and check, or don't look into his eyes if you're not comfortable yet, but check what he lights up about. What excites him? Is it when he talks about sports? Is it when he talks about food? Is it when he talks about Torah? Is it when he talks about money? Is it when he talks about family? Is it when he talks about technology? Is it when he talks about people? Is it when he talks about hashkafa? Look at his face and see what excites him when he's having a conversation with you. What brings that spark in his eyes, and you'll know who he really is, according to Rav Dessler. You'll know what he's really all about. Says Rav Dessler, now that I understand that the way I know what my life is all about is what I'm passionate about. And within what I'm passionate about, I want to see if it's physical or spiritual. He says, I understand that just like a body needs food in order to stay alive, says the Chafetz Chaim, and a neshama needs food in order to stay alive as well. Says Rav Dessler, the hischachos and the kedusha that I insert into my actions, the renewal, the passion, the hislavos that I add to my kiyum Torah and mitzvos, that is adding a lacking of kedusha to my neshama that it didn't have beforehand, giving my neshama, sustaining my neshama with spiritual existence, giving my neshama life. Rav Dessler says that, again, like Chafetz Chaim says, just like my body needs food to live, my neshama needs food to live. The food that it's getting is when I do the Torah and the mitzvos, when I do it with a passion, when I do it with an excitement, when I add renewal, I add kedusha to my neshama that it was lacking beforehand. This is what gives me that spiritual existence, that spiritual life. Now, if you think about it, the more of a spiritual existence that I have in this world, the more of a spiritual existence that I'll have in the next world. Because Olam Haba is only based on Olam Hazeh. Whatever I did here is what I'll get there. And therefore, if most of my passionate life in this world is physical, I don't have so much room in the next world because the next world is completely spiritual. But the more of a spiritual existence that I have in this world, the more of a spiritual existence that I also do have then in Olam Haba. My husband was just in shul here in Forest Hills a few weeks ago, and he was sitting next to a lawyer, and he's called up to the Torah, And my husband says they call him up in a bar mitzvah tune, yeah? Clearly it wasn't his bar mitzvah. And they call him up, Yamod, as if it's his bar mitzvah. And he asked him after, and he said, is there something I didn't know about? Is this like the anniversary of your bar mitzvah and every year they call you up? And he says, no. He says, our minhag is that every time they call us up to the Torah, they call us with a bar mitzvah nigun. Why? So just like it was so exciting for us to be called up to the Torah by our bar mitzvah, every Shabbos that we're called up to the Torah, we should feel that same passion and that same excitement as we felt that day of our bar mitzvah. That's our minhag. B'chol yom iyu beinecha kechadashim. We know that Hashem created us b'tzelem Elokim because we need to emulate the ways of Hashem. Just like Hashem is mechadesh b'tuvo b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshis. Just like Hashem is renewing this bria every moment and moment, we also b'chol yom iyu beinecha kechadashim. Every single day, the Torah and the mitzvot should be alive, should be renewed, should be exciting, should be passionate. If this is really what's going to determine my spiritual life, then our favorite friend, or should I say enemy, crawls in exactly over here. And this is our favorite enemy who's very old, very wise, tricky and sneaky, the Yetzer Hara himself. If he knows that this will determine how much life, how much spiritual existence I would have, the more alive I am, the more passionate I am, this is exactly where he comes in to try and prevent that. Says the Gemara Maseches Sukkah. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi tells us, Shiv'a shemot yesh lo la'yetzer hara. The Yetzer Hara has 7 names. HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls him Ra, evil. We know that David HaMelech calls him a Tameh, impure. Shlomo HaMelech calls him a Soneh, someone who hates. Yecheskel calls him Evan, a stone. I understand you want to call the Yetzer Hara Ra, evil, and Tameh, impure, but a stone? Yetzer Hara is a stone? He's clearly not just sitting there on the side of the road. He's working hard to really get us to fall. What does it mean that the Yetzer Hara is called a stone? Says Rav Victor Miller. Because the Yetzer Hara wants us to have Leiv Shel Evan. He wants us to have a stony heart. He wants us to fall in to a habit and a routine where he deprives a person of any feeling or emotion. This is the Evan that the Yetzer Hara is trying to do. The Yetzer Hara wants us to fall into this habit of routine of, I really don't really care about anything. This is really just what I do. This is really just my life. I don't really, whatever. I don't really think. I don't really feel. He wants us to fall into a routine of a stony heart, a Leiv Shel Evan. And that's why the Rabbi Yecheskel tells us in Parak Lamed Vav, Pasuk Chaf Vav, he says, V'hasiroti et lev ha'evan mibsarchem, v'natati lachem lev basar. La'ased lavo, I will remove your Leiv Shel Evan. I will remove your stony heart, and I will give you a Leiv Basar. I will give you a heart of flesh. I will give you a heart which can feel. Says Rabbi Victor Miller, the main focus and goal in our life is to acquire a Leiv that feels, is to acquire an emotion of a Leiv Basar, an emotion of feeling and of caring, a passion and an excitement in life. Yaakov Avinu is fighting with the Malach Shel Esav, who we know is also known as the Yetzer Hara. And he pins him down to the ground and he tells him, I will not let you leave until you bless me. He says, but I need to go sing Shir to Hashem. He says, until you give me a bracha, I will not let you leave. And he looks up at him and he says, Vayomer elav, ma shimcha, what's your name? Vayomer Yaakov. In Parshas Vayeshlach, Yaakov tells him, my name is Yaakov. He tells him, Lo od yamer od shimcha Yaakov ki im Yisrael. Now your name is going to be changed from Yaakov to Yisrael. And Yaakov turns at him innocently and tells him, Hagidani, tell me, Shmecha, what's your name? And the Malach Shel Esav turns to him and tells him, Lama zeh tishal ishmi? Why do you ask me for my name? And whoa. I did not know this was a touchy subject. You asked me what my name is. I told you my name is Yaakov. You told me it's not going to be Yaakov, it's going to be Yisrael. Now I'm asking you very politely, I'm asking you back, Ma shmecha, tell me now what's your name, yeah? And even he says, nah, please, it's very polite. What's the touchy subject? Whoa. Lama zeh tishal ishmi? Why are you asking me for my name? Listen to what the Sfarim tell us. The Sfarim tell us that that is the name of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara's name is Lama zeh tishal ishmi? Whoa. Why are you thinking? Why are you asking questions? Why are you stopping your routine? Why are you stopping your habit? That is his name. Just like Evan wants us to be stony-hearted, he looks at him and he says, Lama zet isha? Why are you asking? Why are you thinking? Oh no, this is the problem. Right then he gives him a bracha and he leaves. Yeah? The Sfarim say one of the names for the Yetzer Hara is Sam Kel. Therefore, the letter representing the Yetzer Hara is a samach. The samach is a circle. The letter representing the Yetzer Hara is in a shape of a circle because that's his goal. The Yetzer Hara wants us to go round and around in circles and get nowhere. He wants us to live an endless life of nothing. He wants us to go round and round in circles and make the same mistakes that we made when we're 15, to make them again when we're 50. And we made them when we were 10 and we made them when we were 5. He wants us to go round and round in this vicious cycle of routine, in this vicious cycle of habit, of this is just what I do. I don't know. I never stop to think about it. I never stop to think if this is the direction that I want to go in. No direction. And that's why the Mesilas Yesharim is called a path that's straight. Because the point is to break out of that circle and get on that highway that has a destination, to go somewhere, to get a direction. The Yetzer Hara wants us to go round and around in circle and not think and not feel, to have a stony heart, not to have a leiv basar, a heart of flesh that can really feel. When you see young parents, a lot of times you see that there's a very big fight. What was the baby's first word? Was it mama? Was it baba? Or was it dada? Depends what they call. And the big fight is every parent wants the baby to say their name first. Every parent wants to say the baby said my name first. But in Israel, there's something a little different. In Israel, every baby's first word is not even a word. It's more of like a phrase. It's en li koach. And literally, one of their very, very first words is en li koach, because that's the lingo. They're hearing it all the time. Since they're in the womb, they're hearing en li koach, I don't have strength, I don't have koach. So that's really one of their first words. So it takes away one fight in Israel. And then when they become teenagers, it changes to we en li koach. And then when they become old, it turns to oy. Right? But either way, that's really pretty much the lingo, yeah? Because that's really the lingo of the generation. The lingo of the generation that we like to say blah. Blah, I don't care, I don't know, leave me alone. I don't want to think about it. Don't get me into now philosophical discussions where I'm like, I don't know, whatever, right? And that's very much the lingo. I was once talking to a girl about a certain situation that might have needed some chizuk, and I asked her, what do you think about this situation? What do you think about what we're talking about? And she tells me, I'll tell you the truth, I don't know. I don't know. I never really thought about it. This is just like what we do in our family. I don't know. This is just like how we talk. This is just like what we say. I don't know. I'm like, she tells me, I don't know, I never really thought about it. This is just like what I always wore. I don't know, I never really thought about it. What is it? It's just like what we eat in our family. I don't know. Is it kosher? I don't know. This is just like what we do. I don't know. I won't forget when a girl told me, she says, I don't know, this is just like how it is in my family. It's known that some days you wake up in a bad mood and then you're in a bad mood for the whole day. I'm like, I don't know, that's just how it is in our family. You know? Okay, I don't know, I never really thought about it. That's just how it is. This cycle of, I don't know, this is just like how it is. I never really stopped to think about it. Boom, lama zet tishalish me. That's the power of the Yetzer Hara. Don't stop to think. Don't stop to see it, to evaluate if what you're doing is what you really want to be doing. Is it really where you want to be heading? Just lama zet tishalish me. Don't think. The Alter of Novardok used to say, give me the greatest, most passionate Rasha, and I'm going to turn him into the greatest, most passionate tzaddik. Because he has emotion. But if you give me someone who's apathetic, someone who doesn't care about anything, there's nothing I can do to help him. I can't transform anything. I need emotion. I need something. I need a spark. So give me someone who hates Hashem and hates the Torah. Perfect. I'll take him and I'll make him love Hashem and love the Torah. I'll turn him to the greatest tzaddik. But if you give me someone who's blah, someone who's careless, who's apathetic, there's nothing that I could really do. I think it's very scary when this whole cycle and Yetzer Hara of Evan creeps and crawls into our relationships, into our most dear, precious, special relationships that we value and love and cherish. This Yetzer Hara, with the name of Evan, comes into these relationships as well. Whether a spouse, a parent, in-laws, a sibling, a child, the Yetzer Hara of Evan comes in to take the people who we care about so much, who we love so much, and comes in and turns it into this habit, into this routine, into this stony heart that doesn't feel, that doesn't care. I always say, how much effort and energy does a girl put into herself before she goes out on a date? You all know here, yeah? And I won't forget when one student told me that before every date she goes to get her hair done because her hair is stick straight and she needs to get it curled. So every date she goes to get her hair professionally done. Kids, don't try this at home. That's not what I'm saying, right? Or her friend will do her makeup and she'll go shopping and she'll borrow accessories from the whole world because she's going on a date, right? So she's putting so much effort into it. And then when she's engaged, how much thought and love and emotion goes into the letters and to the presents and to the working on communication. I love when girls told me we had such a working on communication moment. We spoke it through, we worked it out. On the dates, on the excitement, how much goes into it. And then Shana Rishona, yeah, is a honeymoon of newlyweds, yeah? And then where does it go? And then where is it all of a sudden? Where it just becomes this relationship of one big blah. Of where's all that excitement that was there? Where's all the excitement that was there by the dating? Where's all the excitement that was there when you were engaged in the beginning of marriage? That's also the Yetzer Hara of Evan. He wants to come in and make everything into habit and make everything into routine. And the point is for us to say no. The point is for us to say, I'm going to have a leiv shel basar. I'm going to make sure that I have time with my husband, just us, without the kids, date nights. I'm going to make sure that we continue with the compliments, verbalizing, expressing, with the date nights, with the gifts, with everything, keeping it alive, not letting the Yetzer Hara take over that emotion. Children who owe their parents everything. No one in the world ever did for a child what his parents did for him. No matter how hard or difficult they were throughout their life, no one ever did for a child what parents did for their child. The Rambam says, just for the fact that a mother carries her child for 9 months, the child owes her a chiyuv of akaras hatov his whole entire life. A lifetime of akaras hatov. Just for the fact that she carried him for 9 months. I love telling that to my kids, by the way. And sometimes, this is how you're acting? After I carried you for 40 weeks and you for 41? This is how you're acting? Just for that alone, yeah? There's a chiyuv of akaras hatov, a lifetime. Children that so respected and admired their parents when they were kids. Mommy gave it a kiss and the boo-boo disappeared. Mommy was everything. And all of a sudden, where did it go? Where's the emotion? Where's the love? Where's the expression? Where's the respect? Again, the Yetzer Hara of Evan comes into the relationship again. Comes in to destroy it, to make it into habit, to make it into routine, to make it not as special. Children who are thirsty for compliments, for recognition from their parents. It doesn't matter how old a child would be. It doesn't matter what his parents judged him or were hard on him in his life. He will forever be thirsty for their approval and recognition. No one in the world can give a child approval and recognition like his parents can, and he needs it from them. A child who feels, just tell me, verbalize it to me. Tell me how much you love me. Tell me how much you care about me. Tell me how proud you are of me. Be excited to see me like you were excited when I was born. Where did it disappear to? The Yetzer Hara of Evan. It's painful for me when girls tell me in seminary, I'm telling you, Mrs. Lieberman, I was talking to my mother and she wasn't listening to me. She just wasn't listening to me. She didn't really care. I told her, Mommy, Chana Bracha got engaged. And she said, yeah, I want to hear how Shabbos was. I'm going to call you back. She completely didn't hear me. There is nothing that a child is thirsty for more than a parent's recognition and love and approval and a relationship that's alive. Again, the Yetzer Hara of Evan that creeps and crawls right into there because he knows that that's the secret to spiritual existence. That's exactly where he comes. There was one night I was putting my Yaakov, my 5-year-old, to sleep. You all, many of you know. And like an average 5-year-old, he said, I'm scared to go to sleep. Okay, we have to validate, we have to listen. What is he scared about? And he says, because lately, every night that I've been going to sleep, I've been having the same bad dream. And he said, I'm scared to go to sleep because I know that when I go to sleep, that bad dream is going to come again. So therefore, I'm scared to go to sleep right now. So I said, okay, so let's try to think of good thoughts and of positive thoughts. And hopefully, your dream, first we tried to change the dream to positive. So if the dream comes, let's change the ending so it should be a happy ending. But then I said, for now, to fall asleep, let's try to think of positive thoughts. So I said, what do you want to think of? Oh, you want to think of last week when we went to the amusement park, we went on the roller coaster, we went on the bumper cars. So he smiled and he said, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, I said, maybe you want to think of a more relaxing thought. Maybe of when we went to the beach, of the waves. And he smiles. Okay, I left the room. He calls me back a few minutes later and he says, Mommy, I know what I want to think about. And I came back into the room. What does he want to think about? And he said, I decided that I want to think of you and Abba looking at me, smiling and doing like this. Winking. And I thought to myself, there is no greater feeling or emotion that a child wants to think about, remember, and experience more than a parent's love that's alive and full of emotion. There's nothing more important to a child than to feel that, than to see that. More than bumper cars and more than the beach, that's what the child wants to think about. That's the happy memory. That's the happy thought he wanted to fall asleep to. This past week, someone showed me a very interesting article from the Harvard Business Review. And it was an article about something called Disruptive Innovation. Disruptive Innovation was basically a business article that explains how businesses can really succeed. Because we think that there's a product out there, and in order for me to come and get the customers to come to me, I have to bring the same product, or maybe even a little better, and make the price lower, and they'll choose me over what they've been buying. Statistically, it says it's not true. Why? Because the world is very used to what they have. The world is very comfortable with the product that they already own. So you'll come and you'll give me, even if it's a little cheaper, I'm still not going to run to buy it because I'm comfortable. This is my routine. I know how to use it. It helps me already. I know what to do. He says, what's disruptive innovation? Disruptive innovation is to come with a product and to show how this is completely different than what you had till now, and you need this now for your life. And it's amazing how the psychology works, how they come to bring out a product, and they turn non-customers into customers. People who never thought that that's what they need. It's a psychology of advertising it in a way of, this is completely different. It's not the same thing, but cheaper. Now he says they'll also make it a little cheaper, because that's also always a pull. But that's not the reason that they turn to the new product. The reason they turn to the new product, because it disrupts their routine. The way of the world is that we get used to the habit and the routine of, this is just what I do. I don't know. It's good for me. It's comfortable for me. But there's something better. I don't know. This is good for me. Disruptive innovation was developed in order to get into the psychology of the brains right now in 2016, where we need to disrupt what we're used to and make a change and say, wait, this is something completely different. It's worth it for me to go out of my comfort zone of what I'm used to doing in order to come and get this new thing. Sometimes Hashem has no choice but to invent disruptive innovations in our life. Sometimes Hashem has no choice when he finds us living in this vicious cycle of routine, and we're making the same mistakes, and our entire leiv is a leiv shel even. And whether it's yechidim, single people, whether it's nations, whether it's the whole world, Hashem needs to come with a disruptive innovation because he wants us to be customers. And he wants to choose non-customers into customers. Disruptive innovation is also known as yisurim, suffering, hardships, and challenges. When we're going around in our life and we're living this life of habit because everything's good, and all of a sudden a hardship comes into our life, the Tehillim tells us in Tzadik Daled Yod, Hayoser goyim halo yochiach, hamilamid adam das. Hashem comes to bring yisurim on nations. Is it in order to give them tochacha? No. Hamilamid adam das. It's to teach man knowledge. What does this mean? What this means is that when nations or single people or the entire world fall into this cycle of routine and habit, then Hashem has no choice but to come with a disruptive innovation called yisurim. And what happens when these yisurim come our way is that we're forced to stop. Whoa, there's a change. Whoa, it's not habit, it's not routine. 1 second, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden we become customers. All of a sudden we connect. All of a sudden we come back. And therefore, this disruptive innovation called yisurim is there to cause the mind to be stirred into motion because it was so blah. And it's not there to come and give us tochacha. It's there to teach us da'as. What's da'as? Ki mala ha'aretz de'as Hashem. Da'as is the knowledge and the recognition Hashem is here. He wants to turn you from a non-customer into a customer. That's all he wants. He wants your attention. He wants your connection. He wants the relationship to become alive. Every teenager who gets a report in 6 months from now, so she sleeps in her bed, and in the second bed in her room, it's full of textbooks that are all there, closed, right? For 6 months. And the night before, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's sitting with all the books open, and she's writing away, and her mother walks into the room, and she tells her, "Why do you leave everything for the last minute?" And she looks up at her mother, and she says, "I work better under pressure." When we're living our life of routine, and all of a sudden Yisurim come our way, we're running, we're saying Tehillim, we're running to have Rosh Hashanah, we're taking upon ourselves 15 minutes of not talking a day, we become alive. It's almost like we're turning to Hashem and we're saying, "Hashem, I work better under pressure. I work better under Yisurim. Look, I'm a customer. Look, I'm here. Look, I'm alive." That's the disruptive innovation that Hashem doesn't want to bring upon us, but has no choice. And that's why the Gemara tells us, "Le'olam yakdim adam, tefila letzara." Obviously, when a tzara comes our way, we daven and we turn to Hashem. Says Rav Pincus, before the tzara comes, be makdim tefila letzara. Before the tzara comes my way, I should be a person who connects. I should be a customer. I should become alive. I should revive that relationships with a liv shel basar. Says the Mesilas Yesharim in Parak Vav. Obviously, when a person is passionate and excited about Avodas Hashem, he finds himself acting bezrizos, running, doing everything that he needs to do. He says, but what about a person who's just not feeling it? That's nice. Just I'm not feeling it. I'm not passionate. I'm not excited. I'm just not there. Says the Ramchal in Mesilas Yesharim Parak Vav. He says that achar pa'ulos nimshachem halavavos means that my emotions follow my outer motion. And therefore, when a person forces his outer motion to act quickly, even though he's not feeling it inside, he will then light the spark of his inner emotion. Because our inner emotions follow our outer motions. And therefore he says, don't believe me when I tell you this. He says, Zed davar shehanisayon yideyu. I'm telling you this, go try this at home. See for yourself that when you're not feeling it, you don't want to do a mitzvah, but you force your outer emotions to act quickly and to go do it quickly, you light up that inner spark of passion. He says, but if you don't feel like doing it and you walk with a blah, what we're doing is we're slowly making it less and less passionate, that spark that was there in the first place. The Maral in Nesivos Olam tells us that the natural way and order of our guf is not to do things quickly, is not to do things fast. The natural order of the guf is to be in a walking position, in a sitting position. That's the natural order of the guf. And that's why the Maral says that on Shabbos, where the world is in a state of menucha, in a state of shvita, everything stops, everything's calm, you're not allowed to run. Because your body can't be mishani from the seder of the teva. Your body can't go against its natural way. The natural way is that it should be calm. But the Maral says, Aval la'avodat Hashem itbarach. But when it comes to avodas Hashem, ein hatnu'a nichshav shinui. Our doing it with a quick way, with a quick motion, is not considered to be a change. Ve'ein davar ze yotzeh min haseder. And this is not going against the natural way of the world. Ki kach ra'ui sheyeh avodat Hashem itbarach. Because this is the way it's appropriate to serve Hashem. Bizrizut hayoter. The way to serve Hashem is with a passion and with a zrizos. And that's why, le'olam yaretz adam ledvar mitzvah, the Gemara tells us. A person should always run to do a mitzvah. And how does it continue? When else? Va'afilu b'Shabbos. And even on Shabbos, a person is allowed to run if it's a dvar mitzvah. Why? Because when it comes to a mitzvah, I'm not being mishani from the teva. I'm not going out of the natural way of my guf. The natural way is to do it with a zrizus. The natural way is to do it with a run. And that's why I'm allowed to do it also on Shabbos, when naturally I'm not allowed to leave the seder of the world, which is shvita and menucha right now. Says the Maharal, if when I come to do a mitzvah or to serve Hashem, I insert the hischadrus and I insert the passion, what I'm doing is right now is I'm saying no to the guf. I'm going against the natural tendency and laziness of the guf, and I'm having a neshama moment. He says, every time I do that, I'm zoche to a world shebelo guf. I'm zoche to chaye olam haba, which is a life with no body, which is a life of only neshama. every time I overcome that natural lazy tendency and I do things when I'm alive and I'm excited, I am zocha at that time, like Rav Desser told us earlier, to a world of a spiritual life, to a world that's completely neshama. So, like we said, the point of Yiddishkeit is, we always say, Derachia darchi noam. The ways of the Torah is beautiful. The way of the Torah is sweet. The way of the Torah is happy. That's the way of the Torah. And the point is that we want to insert it, this passion and excitement for Yiddishkeit, in every aspect of life. And my favorite example, as you all know, is Rosh Chodesh. I love using Rosh Chodesh as an example, because Rosh Chodesh is a day that, unless I say Hallel and say Ya'aleh V'yavo, I could not even know that it was Rosh Chodesh. And especially as a yantif that was given to women, the day of Rosh Chodesh is a day that I can insert the passion into it, and I could turn it into a special day. And whether it's dressing in a nice way, there's a girl here, actually here, and I saw her in seminary, and it was Rosh Chodesh, and she was wearing a beautiful shirt, and I told her, you look so beautiful, and she said, that's because we learned that on Rosh Chodesh we have to dress nicer. Yeah, because it's true, we have to look nicer on Rosh Chodesh, whether it's making a nice meal for Rosh Chodesh, whether it's taking a trip with the kids because it's Rosh Chodesh, turning Rosh Chodesh into a special day. Kotel, whether it's a date night with your husband, making Rosh Chodesh into a special day. This is something that we insert into it as well. This month now, Rosh Chodesh falls on Shabbos. Then they say that you're supposed to make an extra dish for Shabbos. Yeah? L'kavod Rosh Chodesh. To insert the passion. That's something that we have the ability to do. And especially as women. When it's Shabbos, yeah, making Shabbos alive, making Shabbos full of emotion. The children looking forward to Shabbos. And again, whether it's everyone singing Zmiros together, whether it's a special involving the children in the menu, making their favorite food, making a seating arrangement, this kid gets to sit, this meal next to a parent, that meal next to a parent, whether it's a Shabbos party, whether it's a special Parsha question game that you make involve the children in, whether it's Divrei Torah. We know a family that after Eishes Chayil, they go by and every child says thank you to the mother for something that she did for them this week. Yeah? And then during the meal, they say thank you to their father for another thing. Hakar Satov, making it alive. We know a family that has a Hashgacha Pratis pickle jar. And every Shabbos meal, they pass around the pickle jar. And every child says a Hashgacha Pratis story, how they saw Hashem in their life this week and they take out a pickle. We have the power to make Torah and mitzvos passionate. We have the power to make it alive. We have the power to make it exciting. The children should look forward to it. We were once at a Pesach Seder where the father of the family took all the children a month before Pesach and practiced a beautiful choir. And throughout the Seder, they stood up and sang songs with emotions. And there was games in the middle of the Seder, and they were acting things out, and they were waved, and they were crossing the Yam Suf. I'm telling you, it was the most amazing Seder. It was very geared to children, but it was amazing to see how not one child fell asleep until the Seder was over. I never experienced such a thing in my life because they were so there. It was so alive. The Pesach Seder was alive. And my son asks me every day, when is Hanukkah? Why do you want Hanukkah? Because I want to get a present every night. Okay, whatever works. But Hanukkah's alive. Hanukkah's exciting. Hanukkah's going to be fun because we're going to get a present every night. I have the power to take Torah and mitzvos and make them exciting. And the way that it comes to, however I feel that excitement, with my natural tendencies, to make it alive. The power of chinuch is also, like we say, shulchaninu gadol meshulchanam. Our table is bigger than their table. It's not we can't do this because we're Jewish, because we're from. No, it's look at everything that we can do. We're so lucky. Our table is so much bigger than their table. What we have is so much more than what they have. We don't need anything else. We're so lucky. It's so alive within us. I remember when we first got married, the first Shabbos that I cooked, so I wanted to make a chicken soup. So I took a big pot like this of chicken soup, yeah, the chicken soup pot, right? And I wanted to start making the chicken soup. So my husband said, I don't know, like we're really only 2 people. So I said, oh, I mean, this is the chicken soup pot that we've been making chicken soup in my family. Like this is the chicken soup pot for Shabbos. So I took it out and I took a small part in the pot. And the tradition in our family is that you let it boil on Thursday night till you go to sleep, because the more time it boils, the better the chicken soup is. So I put up the chicken soup in a small pot and I went to do whatever it is that I was doing. And I came back from the smell of burning. The whole soup boiled, because if it's a small pot like this, So you can't let it boil till you go to sleep because it boiled out. But I was so used to shulchanenu gadol meshulchanam. Our table was big. We always had a big pot of chicken soup. That's the emotion that a child feels in his house, and that's the emotion that we want to insert into our homes, and that's the emotions that we have to insert today also before we're married. That's the emotion that we have to constantly bring in ourselves. The passion and the excitement, and every person does it in their own way. The passion and the excitement of making Yiddishkeit alive. Chanoch lanar al pidarko, Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, gam ki yazkin lo yasar mimenu. When a child grows up, that Torah and mitzvos are alive, they're passionate and they're exciting, then gam ki yazkin, then also when he gets older, lo yasar mimenu. He's not going to want to leave it because he's so excited by it, because he's so attached to it, because he's so living it, lo yasar mimenu, it's not going to leave him. So the famous mind reader that was coming to town, everybody had heard this mind reader can read anyone's mind, and he knows what you're thinking. He could see the unseen. He knows the unknown. Now, we had one little boy, and he was a chacham. He was a wise guy, and he says, I'm going to prove him that he's not the greatest thing in the world. I'm going to show him that he doesn't know everything. His plan was to take a butterfly and to hold the butterfly in his hand and to come to him and to say, Mr. Mind Reader, what do I have in my hand? He said, obviously he's a mind reader, so he's going to tell me that I have a butterfly. But then comes the good part. I'm going to ask him, hey, Mr. Mind Reader, this butterfly that I have in my hand, is it dead or is it alive? If he tells me that the butterfly is alive, I'm going to squish it in my hands, and I'm going to show him the butterfly is dead. And if he tells me that the butterfly is dead, I'm going to open my hand, and the butterfly is going to fly out, and I'm going to show him that the butterfly is alive. And either way, I'm going to prove him wrong. And he comes to the mind reader, and he says, hey, Mr. Mind Reader, what do I have in my hand? And he tells him, my child, it's a butterfly. And he says, Mr. Mind Reader, this butterfly that I have in my hand, is it dead or is it alive? And the mind reader looks into his eyes and says, the answer to that question, my son, is in your hand. And I think to myself, there is so much in this world that is completely not in our hands. There is so much in this world that is completely not up to us. We didn't choose it. We did nothing we feel like we don't deserve it. It's not in our hands. But this point is so in our hands. This point of inserting excitement and passion into Yiddishkeit is so in our hands, and especially as women, a woman is the akaras habayis. She owns the emotion in the home. A happy wife is a happy life for a reason, because a happy life makes the home a happy home. She makes the family alive. She inserts it. She has the power. With everything she does, she has the power to make her home into a home that's alive. And what I want to suggest is that when we all get up from this shiur, we should all go and turn to someone, one of these relationships that are so dear and so precious to us, whether a spouse, a parent, a child, a sibling, a very close friend. Turn to one of these relationships that we turn into Leiv Shel Even. Turn to one of these relationships that we take for granted. We turn them into habit. We turn them into this vicious cycle of routine. The life is sucked out of it. Turn to them and say, I love you so much. You have no idea how much you mean to me. Wake up the relationships. Wake up the emotions. And in Mirza Hashem, we should be zocheh to take this emotion of passion, insert it into the leiv, which will be a leiv shel basar. Insert it into Torah and mitzvos. Insert it into our life. Create homes of kedusha. Create families that are living Torah and mitzvos alive. Make our home into a home where the Yetzer Hara is not an Even, where the Yetzer Hara doesn't turn our leiv into a leiv shel Even, where we have a leiv shel basar, where we're not going with that vicious cycle of routine and getting nowhere, a home where we're going on a highway, a Mesilas Yesharim, which gets us somewhere. To turn our life, a Mirza Hashem, into the life which is worth living. May we all be zocheh.